All right, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to give us just another minute or two to let some more people join, because they are flooding in now. As you guys are joining in, you may see us. Oops. As you guys are joining in, you may see us muting you. We want to try to keep everybody muted for the presentation. If you need to come off of mute, we'll ask you guys to come off of mute. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll have some time here at the end to go through question and answer as well. So we'll get started here in just one more minute. Still getting some people joining here, so stay tuned.
Hello.
How you doing, Dean? Dean, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. We'll be asking. We'll have a Q&A towards the end. If you have any questions up front, go ahead and you can throw them in the chat. But thanks for joining. We're gonna get started, guys. As people join, they'll get to hopefully miss my awesome PowerPoint presentation here. But they'll get to see the demonstration portion of this. So thank you all for joining today. This is the sixth now webinar that we've done for ACM, and they've been a great success. Thank you for showing your support for the product. What we're going to be covering today is a very important topic. It is our ACM and ACC unification. What you can do, how things work, and all of that. So great topic. Just one more time, going to reiterate, please stay on mute. And if you need to come off of mute for a reason, throw a message in chat so we can monitor that and answer your questions. So we'll get started here. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about what is unification, because it's kind of a funny word. Not a lot of people understand what that word means, but I'm going to explain it. What resources are available to you as customers and partners from us so that you can better understand how to set up and how to use some of the unification features. We're going to cover some of the best practices as far as setup and how to utilize the unification between ACM and ACC. I am going to go through the actual setup process between ACM and ACC, setting up unification, pulling in users, and all of that. And then we're going to do a quick demonstration of what you can do after you have things set up. So what is unification? Unification is our connection between ACM, our access control platform, and ACC, our video platform. When we talk about Avigilon being an end-to-end security solution provider, that's really where it starts. We are known in the industry for our video management solutions, our analytics, our access control. And yes, they are two separate boxes that you're going to install. However, through simple software connectors, we can make the two work with each other to provide that end-to-end solution for you, for your customers and partners. So this allows operators the ability to monitor access control events. It allows a single source of operator login information, so basically only one username and password. It allows operators to monitor specific door events. And the best part about unification are the last two bullet points there. This has been included in ACC and ACM for almost 2 years now. So we've had this available since ACC 6.14. We've had this all the way back to ACM 5.12.0, actually 5.10.10. So this has been around for a while, but we're seeing more, more and more use cases as of today. And the last two things the last thing that's very important is it doesn't require any additional software other than those two things. You just have to have ACC and you just have to have ACM. So what can you do with unification? ACM operator accounts coming in from ACM will be linked to an account in ACC. So an operator will only need to remember one username and password. That username and password will allow them the ability to log into ACC, log into ACM, and do everything that they would do from an operator standpoint. You still have the ability to create local accounts in either system that only have a functionality for those specific systems. But when you have operators that need to perform unification actions, they only need to remember one username and password. Taking that one step further, you can utilize Active Directory connections for remote authentication still. So the path is a little bit different than what you may see with ACC connected to Active Directory, where ACM will actually be that authoritative source connecting to Active Directory. Cameras, they can be linked to doors, and this allows us to monitor the door events at every single door that's connected to a camera. So when we link a camera to a door, every card read, every door forced, every door held, local grants, all of that information is passed from the ACM system into ACC so that we get unified control and we get unified monitoring of both systems. Operators have the ability to perform door grants. Sounds like a very simple task, but it's actually extremely powerful. The use case that I love to give is, an administrator or receptionist sitting at the front door. They see the UPS guy. He's got his, hand truck with a bunch of boxes, and we want to be able to open that door for him, but still keep security and keep things safe. The operator can then just trigger a door event, and I'm going to demonstrate that later on today. Uh, Operators can view identity information in real time. So when you link cameras to doors, as I mentioned before, when you go through and you actually card read, we have an identity verification that allows you to see those events in real time in the ACC UI. Unification utilizes probably to its fullest the ACC rules and alarms engine. This is where we actually can kind of make ACC sing. It allows us to take access control events, whatever you want them to be, door forced, door held, invalid credential, input point being monitored, and then trigger ACC to do something with that. Pop up live video, send out an alarm, start a live stream, send a notification to central monitoring. All of those events can be performed with unification. Identity search. Probably one of the most powerful searches that we have in ACC is the ability to search for a video based on a card holder's information. So simple search, put in a first name, a last name, a time range, and now I can see where someone has gone based on all of their card reads. We take that one step further by using identity search to perform an appearance search. We have the recorded video. We know what the profile of the person looks like based on their card read. We're not searching based on a photo in ACM. We're actually searching based on the video that's coming through in the identity search. And the last two, this really does provide a single pane of glass for the operators. This is a tool that will allow them to manage their system all from one place rather than having to switch back and forth between multiple windows. And this does work with third-party cameras. However, it does not work with third-party VMSs. So you can't do unification with ACM and Milestone. However, if you do have one of our competing cameras, that unification will work on ACC. So how does it work? Essentially, you have ACM that is obviously your access control. It has identities, it has operators, it has events and monitoring. Through a connection between ACM and ACC, which is just a simple port that ACM uses or ACC uses to connect to ACM, all of that information gets passed. So we're passing along the identity information, the events, and then what happens is from ACC, we can back request things like door grants or identity verification. So all of that is happening from our unification. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for a couple seconds, and I am going to make this slide deck available to everybody after the presentation. If you want to jot down some of these links, they are shortened links, so I'm not sure how long they're going to last, but all of these resources are available to you. there is a complete unification guide that I'm going to show quickly and kind of go through that takes you through how to set up unification and the process to do so. Our sales engineering team has done a setup video that takes you once again through the process. I did throw in there the virtual roadshow. We did a lot of great videos and there's a lot of great resources. The virtual roadshow is available only until April 20th. So if you have a chance and you didn't do it before, go ahead and jump on there and you can look through all of the different resources there. The demonstration videos. So the same videos that we used for the virtual roadshow are available from that link, just demonstrating what is available through unification. And then obviously guys like me, guys like Rob, people that are in your territory that are available for help in setup and training and things like that. So a couple of the best practices. First thing, just remember unification is available at no cost, right? This is not an extra license. There's no extra software, literally just ACM and ACC communicating with each other on the port used for ACM web connectivity. So if your system is set to the default port of 443, as long as your ACC system can communicate with ACM over your network, you can make this connection. A dedicated operator count, role, delegation, and routing group should be created to create the connection between ACM and ACC, and I'm going to cover how we do that. ACM will become the authenticated source for ACC operators. So when we make this connection, you're going to use ACM to pull in your operators into ACC and allow them to use that operator count to actually perform their actions. A very good best practice is to make sure that ACM and ACC are both using the same NTP time server. This ensures that all of your events are time synced between the access control and the video platform. And then the last one is prepare any ACC user groups that are going to be mapped to ACM roles prior to doing the pull of information from ACM into ACC. That's a good practice to have, just to make sure that things are nice and clean when we do this process. So slide deck over, guys. We're going to go through the setup and demonstration here. So as you can see, by the way, hi, this is me. I'm working from within ACC, and I'm going to do my best to go through this entire presentation in ACC. What I've done here is I've pulled in a web page. Okay, so this web page is just my link to my ACM system, and I do have a lot of what I'm showing you already set up. However, the unification guide is going to go through and describe this in a little bit more detail. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to log in, right? So I'm going to log in as me, and we are going to set up that first part, which was the role, delegation, and routing groups, and then the identity that's going to make the connection between ACM and ACC. So I have done this already, so I just want to kind of show you these things as that best practice. Follow along in the guide if you want to know the details about it. However, the items that you'll need are a delegation. Now, one of the things you'll notice in the unification guide, and this is actually something that I'm working to get them to change, is that there is a default delegation called ACC administrator. However, it does not have all of the correct delegations that you need to make this connection. I prefer to create a new ACC unification delegation. However, you can just change the existing ACC administrator one. Just make sure you follow the guide and that it has these members in the listing. Okay, so if you don't have all 13 of these listings in there, unification will not work properly. Okay, so this is all described once again in that unification guide. The other thing that you will need is a routing group. You can use the route everything group, but if you want to change what is actually sent through unification, maybe you don't want every door forced or every tamper or things like that, you can change some of the things that are in the routing group. However, it's a best practice to create an ACM to ACC routing group as well. Once you have your delegations created, you're going to create the associated role. So I've created one here called ACC Unification. I gave it a stop date of 2030. It is installed. You'll notice here it does not have access groups, nor does it need access groups. It does, however, need that delegation that we referred to before, and it also needs the routing groups that we referred to before. Once you have that portion set up, then we need to create that unification identity. So this is an operator of the system, no different than creating another operator to access ACM. We're just going to go ahead and create this one to make the connection between ACM and ACC. So last name, first name, that's all you needed for identification. And then you need some sort of operator account. By the way, I'm probably going to say the word unification about 150 times in this. If you get tired of it, I apologize, but it's just the way that it is. I'm using ACC unification, and I'm setting a password. Save that, and now we're going to give this identity that ACC unification role. Okay, so now my ACM system is actually set up. That's all I needed to set up unification in ACM. So now from within my ACC console, I can start to do some of the other things that need to get done. So we're going to go into the setup of my ACC site. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to, as I mentioned before, we want to make sure that we have the correct user groups for what we're going to map to the roles within ACM. So if your customer has different groups of people that need to access certain sites or certain cameras, you want to make sure that you have that created here prior to doing the connection to ACM and bringing the users in. Jeff, I will try, but this is my screen, and I don't know if I can make it any bigger without making it absolutely massive on my side. So I'll make sure you get the recording, and if you have some questions, we can go through them individually. So once you have your groups created or your groups modified that have the specific information that you need, then we can start to make our connections to ACM. So the first thing that we need to do is we go to this access control tab, and we're going to put in the IP address or the host name of our ACM site. Now, my site utilizes port 446. I do that because I have other things on my network that use 443. And then we're going to use that ACC unification operator account that we created before in ACM. And now when I click connect, I'm going to get a trust. Okay, so when you're connecting for the first time, you should get a message saying, "Hey, this is an untrusted site. We need to trust the ACM connection that we're trying to make." Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and trust this, and you'll see I get a new icon in my list that is my ACM system. Now we're going to come back to cameras and doors because this is where we're going to create the linkage. However, the next part that we need to do is actually bring in our users from ACM or our operators from ACM. So I'm going to go back into users and groups, and we're now going to set our external directory. So if your system is default or brand new, you should likely see none here. If you're connecting to Active Directory through ACC, we are going to need to break that connection. So we would change this from Active Directory to Access Control Manager, which I'll do here. So now we're syncing out to ACM, and we're going to map the permissions from one group in ACC to a role in ACM. So I'm going to use administrators just so I have full control of everything. You obviously would use the group that is pertinent to you. So I'm going to use administrators, and I'm going to map this to my super admin group because I know I have some people in there that I want to pull in, and they're going to be administrators of my system. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And now what you'll see is in my users group, I have all of these new people, right? I have all of these new operators, and here I am. Okay, so this is my login that you saw me log into ACM with over in my other window. So now I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to log out of this site, and I'm going to log back in using my ACM credentials. Okay. Once this makes the connection to ACM, it'll log me back in. And because I mapped to an administrators group, I have all of the same rights as an administrator on ACC. So we'll change our view here. I'll throw that guy in there. I didn't save that view beforehand. Probably should have. And we'll throw a couple cameras in just so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Okay. And there's our video intercom. Okay. So now we have our cameras, we have our ACM system. I am logged into ACM, and I have the ability still as an operator to go in and connect to my ACM site, connect to my ACC. I can see my cameras. So we can do the next part of this, which is set up our camera linking. Okay. So if I go into back into setup and back to that icon that said AC, and here's our ACM site, I can start to make connections between my cameras and my doors. So I already have one here, but we're going to create another link. So let's come down here to our building one front entrance. So I'm going to pick my door first, and then what camera I want to link that to. So I create one link. Let's go ahead and create another link. Let's go building 3, rear door, and let's pick this guy, right? So the idea here is that you're going to link cameras that are looking at these doors or within the area of the door. So that way, when we get the events happening as people are card reading through or doors are being forced, those events are going to be time synced to the camera events. So there's your first part. So now what that does is it gives me this. It gives me now the ability to grant door access. I'm going to go ahead and close out this window here. And then it also gives you the ability to see who has card read through a door. So this guy up here is our identity verification. This is our door grant. So now I have the ability to grant that door access, and you'll see the door fires, and you'll see they, guys, you're learning something with me here. This is actually really cool. They have fixed something in 7.6. So when I created this door grant request, it actually said that the operator who created that door grant request is now the one who shows up in the identity verification screen. So same thing as people are card reading through the door. You'll see my cool little card wheel here spinning around. People are card reading through the door, and I'm getting in real time all of those events. So you think about being an operator of a system. I'm monitoring some doors. I now have the ability to see there's Jared, there's Billy Bad Guy. That's a deactivated card attempt. That's a bad thing. All of these are happening in real time. And we'll get other events like doors being held open, doors being forced, and all of that. All from within this window. Now you can have multiple verification panels open as long as you have the screen real estate to do so. So right now, if I wanted to do verification for this one, maybe I do something like this. So this camera is linked to this door. This camera is linked to this door. And if I do a door grant request, then I'll get that over here, right? All of that is happening once again in real time. So very cool, very important. Okay. Now, the other part of unification is the ability for us to use that ACC rules engine. I've joked with a couple of the other sales engineers that the ACC rules engine is one of the most underutilized portions of the ACC system. So from here, what I have the ability to do is go in and create rules based on what's happening in my system. So think of these as triggers. So if I go in and I click add, here's all my camera and server and device events that are on the ACC system. Things like users logging in, device connected, disconnected. So you can use this for monitoring. But down here at the bottom, here's all your access control events. So things like a door access denied, that would be an invalid card attempt, or door access granted, people being able to log in, or people card reading through the door. a door closing, a door opening. All of these events are available to you so that you can trigger new things as or new events as you want them to. So we can do something as simple as door access granted, right? So this is a very Boolean logic here. When access is granted on any door, or if I wanted to specify a door, I can. What do I want to have happen? Well, in this case, I'm going to say when access is granted on any door, start live streaming to the camera link to the event and send that to every user that's logged into the system. So once again, you think about monitoring a system with multiple operators. They want some sort of event that's important to them sent to their operator screens. They can do so. Okay, so now this is a very simple event. I'm just going to go in and say grant op camera. Right? You can make this as detailed as you want. One nice thing about this is because the rules engine has the ability to be scheduled as well, you can say, hey, during hours, we don't really care about doors being forced open and popping up cameras. However, after hours from 5 p.m. to midnight, we really care about that. We don't want doors being propped open. We don't want things being forced. Okay, so you can use the schedule option for that. So I'll go ahead and finish that. And then we'll come back over to our video pane here. We'll start up our card wheel again. And now that I have that local grant, as soon as a local grant happens, I get video popped up into an available video pane. Okay, so every time I'm getting that local grant, now I'm getting video each time. Okay, so this is a very, very useful tool. And if you think about all of the different types of triggers that you can do, there's plenty, right? These rules can be modified to give you or your customers exactly what they want. So you have other options like sending an email or sending this to central monitoring, creating bookmarks. This is a great one for doors forced. If you wanted to send out just create a bookmark every time a door is forced open. That way you're not having to actually send something to somebody. You're just going back and you can search for those bookmarks. But the other thing that you can do with this is if you have events that are extremely important, right? We consider those alarms. You can use the alarms engine in conjunction with the rules engine to trigger an alarm event. And alarms are treated a little bit differently in the ACC system. So we're going to go ahead and create an alarm based on a door being forced open. So we're going to first start with external software event. Okay, so this is telling ACC, hey, whatever you're connected to, listen for this event and then create an alarm. Rob, are you hearing me okay? Okay, thanks, Rob.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, thanks, Rob. So now we're going to set the camera or the device that is linked to the door that we want the information from. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the one that's got my card wheel on it, and I'm going to set a smaller recording duration. Right, I only care about 15 seconds because a door forced event with a pre-record of 5 and a post-record of 5 seconds, I'm going to probably get the entire event with about 15 seconds. You can set this to whatever you want, and then I can set the event to trigger the camera to pop up on a screen. And then here's where we get to pick who this is going to go to. So if you want to specify which operators are going to get this alarm, you have the ability to do so here, or you can specify an entire group of people. Just for this demonstration, I'm just going to pick me. If you want to play a sound, if you want to, one of our alarm notifications or alarm wave files, you can pick that. I'm not, so that you guys don't have to hear that loud screech in your ear. You can require operators to enter a comment. So before they can actually acknowledge this alarm, they'll have to go through and put in some sort of comment based on what this event was. You can also do sort of cascading with events. So you can create cascade events using digital outputs on the cameras so that when this alarm is triggered, Maybe you're going to fire a digital output that goes to a bell or a sounder, or you're going to pull it back into ACM over a wire so that you can trigger a lock of a door or something like that. There's a lot of different things that we can do with the alarm events. And the same thing here, we're just going to say, hey, this is our door forced event, force alarm, and we're going to enable that alarm. And now that we have our alarm, we're going to create another rule. Okay, so this rule, instead of it being local grant, we're going to use door forced, right? So when any door is forced, now for your installation, you may want to pick a specific door. I'm just going to say when any door is forced, I want to trigger this alarm, and that's it. Okay, call it door forced, finish it, close. And now if I create a door forced, which is essentially the same thing as, somebody forcing a door, you'll see in my verification, I got a forced door. In my alarm panel or my view, I got a forced alarm. The other thing that I'll get if I force a door is that alarm or that notification will be sent into focus of attention. Oh, my door's still held open. Hang tight. Gotta wait for the door to close. Is it too far away? Oh, come on. There we go. Door's closed. So now if I force this door again, I got that message or that notification in focus of attention. Now I'm not going to focus. I'm not going to go through everything that you can do with focus of attention today. We'll save that for another one. Just for those of you who don't know, focus of attention is a receiver that can bring in alarms. It gives you situational awareness of everything that's going on in your site with these honeycombs. But if you can imagine, using focus of attention as an operator would be extremely useful. If I had a site that had 10 times the amount of cameras here, and I was trying to monitor everything that was going on, door forces and cameras going offline and motion and analytic events, it'd be very stressful and strenuous on my eyes. However, if I'm an operator and all I see is a red dot on my screen, that becomes important to me. It makes it very simple for me to go in and say, hey, that's bad. I got a forced alarm. I should probably do something with that. So let me go back and replay when that event happened. And it takes me right back to when the event happened, and I get a quick replay of that. Now, this is where, because this is a demonstration, I ask you guys to use your imagination a little bit. We got Billy Bad Guy wearing the beanie, holding up the sign in the striped, jumper. We see Billy kicking in a door, and we get the door forced alarm. And this is the event of that happening, right? So based on how your cameras are linked, that's what you're going to see. I can acknowledge that alarm, and I'm good to go. Okay. So those are some of the things that we can do with unification. The other part that I talked about before was our identity search. Now, identity search is a search capability that allows you to utilize card information or identity information to find events on the system. So the typical use case, or one of the use cases that I love to give, is someone used my card to get through a door or get into an area that they shouldn't have. Or, hey, I just want to find I got a notification that Billy had been sneaking around our building, and we fired Billy last week. However, he tried to come back and use his card. So let's find out where Billy went. So with this, if you come up to the start new task and you come down to identity, now all I need is some very simple details. I need a first name or a last name. This is going to search ACM for this identity. I then need a date range. So we'll just pick today. Why not from that should work. And then it's going to search all of my cameras and all of my doors. Okay. So now we search, and here we go. Here are all of the deactivated card attempts made by Billy Bad Guy. Okay, so we got Billy has tried his card 3 times today and has been unsuccessful every time getting through because it's a deactivated card attempt. I affectionately like to refer to identity search as access control analytics because this is the event that happened. Deactivated card attempt at building 1, and here's the card number. That is fact. There is nothing that could be refuted based on, whether it was an analytic event or not. This happened. Somebody presented their card and was denied access. And here's the events that we got. So we can quickly come over here and we can see I had a pre-record on this. So Jared walked through the door opens, door closes, and now here's the video of Billy Bad Guy trying to get into one of our areas. Okay. If I want to, I can take this video and I can export it. I can bookmark it. I can do all of my normal features. However, because my system is connected in a way that allows me to also start an appearance search, I can utilize this appearance search to try to find out, there's my cat, there's my dogs. I could try to use this appearance search to try to find out where Billy went. Now, I will admit, guys, this does work better on a live system with more cameras when you don't have a cat walking through the scene. However, what this would do is this would allow you to go through and search based on the characteristics of the video here. So if we wanted to try to find where this guy was before or after the event, we could search our timeline and see where did Billy go? Did he or where was he before he tried to get through the door? There's me again. There's my daughter. So you have the ability to go through and utilize an appearance search directly from an identity search. The idea behind these searches and all of the features that come along with unification is that we're trying to be proactive about a reactive situation with a customer, right? I know that sounds a little counterintuitive or maybe a strange terminology. However, if you think about it, video in itself is typically a reactive event. Something happened, but we recorded it and we got it on video. So we have to go back through the camera and we have to go to record it and we have to find it. Well, by utilizing some of these unification techniques, you'll see here, I have events in my system, okay? I have face match events. I have bookmarks. I have things that I've created as an operator that make it very simple for me to go back and find what I want. I don't have to go through and scrub the timeline, right? This is the thing that is the most kind of the most detrimental to an operator is having to go back through and try to find events on a system when you don't have any information other than, yeah, somebody broke into that area. Well, wouldn't it be really nice if you knew that when somebody broke into that area, we could just trigger a camera to set a bookmark and I could go back through. I have to admit, guys, I don't know if I set up bookmarks on this one, but I do have face matches. If I had bookmarks here set for every single time that a door was forced or a deactivated card attempt happened, it just bookmarked that event. And then I can go back through and say, yep, that's when that happened. I'm going to go back through and export that event or run some other investigation off of that. So in general, that is the main features of unification. The one thing I did want to show here in my system, I'm actually going to log into my other site so that you guys can see really where the power of a true unified system comes into play, is when you have all of this working together, what can you do with it, right? So I will come into my unification view, right? So if I'm an operator of the system, you can create these views automatically for people to have as soon as they log in. They get this information. And so I'm going to go ahead and log into my ACM site. Not sure if anybody caught this, but this is one ACM system that is connected to two different ACC sites. So think about that when you're out there designing systems. If you have a multi-site customer, they've got Avigilon NVRs across the country, but they only have one ACM site because we play really well with multi-site configurations. You have the ability to use one ACC site to or I'm sorry, one ACM site to connect to all of your ACM site or your ACC sites. Geez. So I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge a couple of these alarms to make them go away, make my camera stop flashing. There we go. So this is one of the demonstrations that I like to give for schools. My lockdown is actually set up for education. It performs all kinds of different actions on the back end for ACM. It locks doors. It uninstalls access groups. It installs access groups for first responders and things like that. However, it's also unified with ACM or with ACC. So in my lockdown scenario, if I trigger a lockdown, a lot of things happen. Okay. So a lot of things actually just happen right there. It took doors that were in my system and put them into priority card only mode. So if those doors were unlocked, they're now locked. They're now in a card only mode. It uninstalled all of my teachers or normal employees access groups, and it installed a group of first responders cards. It is linked to cameras on my system. So once again, in an operator's view, if they had a view of all of their cameras and they saw every single one of their cameras start flashing red all at the same time, they would know that something bad, something really bad may have happened. So now we have this notification of all these cameras that are in alarm status. Focus of attention. I now got information in my focus of attention window. I also opened up a saved view that has a screen of all of my cameras. It shows everything that's going on. You guys can see my front door. You guys can see my garage. Obviously, use your sites as an example, not my house. It sent this as an alarm with all of my camera information. So every single camera that's associated to that alarm got sent into this alarm. I can take that, once again, I can bookmark it, I can assign it, or I can open it in a view. I can assign this alarm to another operator. That is a great point, Jeff, and I was getting there. So this solution, because of that unification piece and what we can do with all of the products within our portfolio, I've focused on basically ACM and ACC, but now you start thinking about the other things that this could do for safe school initiatives or for corporate customers or hospitals. This can integrate with our Motorola Solutions radios and radio alert as well. So this same lockdown alarm could actually notify over a customer's radio network. Or taking that one step further, this integrates with Ally. This allows you to send these alarms through our incident management solution with Ally. So now as soon as I click lockdown, if you think about the workflow that could have happened, I could have locked all my doors, uninstalled access groups, installed access groups, triggered my cameras to go into alarm, sent an alert over my radios to all of my staff that we have a lockdown in progress, generated an incident in Ally that performed a mass notification to all the people in my users list that a lockdown had been triggered at my facility, all from the single click of one button or a card read or a panic button being pressed or any other option that we can come up with for lockdown. Best part about it is turn it on with one click, turn it off with one click. Everything is acknowledged now. Everything goes back to normal. Focus of attention is normal, and I can make this view go away. So that's really like the kind of the end all, right? There's a lot of things that you can do with unification once it's set up. It is really a great tool for you to provide a lot of value to your customers. And for any customers that are on the call, this is something that if you are in ACC 6, if you're in ACC 7, and you have ACM, I would encourage talking to your partner about setting this up. And once again, using those resources that we talked about earlier to provide you guys with that information. So I went through this pretty quickly, hopefully, because I'm hoping for some good questions here. We'll open up the chat. We'll open up your audio. If you guys want to start asking some questions, we'll take the last 15 minutes to go through some things. Feel free. Any questions, guys? What was the event? What was the event that created the trigger from the lockdown? So, there created the alarm. So in my system, in the rule, in my system, it's actually it's an input being monitored. So I'm actually monitoring a panic button in my system. What I've done is, Jeff, because this is a demonstration, I wired an output from one panel to an input on another panel, so that when that output fires, it triggers the input. But that actually brings up a good point. One of the events that we can monitor is all the way down here at the bottom, or 4 of them. Input activated, input deactivated, input fault detected, input fault cleared. The 2 that you would use the most would be input activated, input deactivated. So think about if you do have a panic button, or you have sensors in your system, maybe you've got door contacts on fire doors. If those are monitored by ACM, they're now monitored by ACC. So if I look at my list, I have all of these inputs in my ACM system that I could monitor. If I wired up a panic button, or I wired up a door contact, or some sort of sensor, I could trigger that entire series of events to happen directly from essentially that one event that happened in ACM. So that's how I'm doing it, Jeff. Great question. Yes, there's a lot of things that are in the plans, Sam. Door grants is actually not one of the things that's in ACC Mobile 3 yet. Lockdown, or being able to basically bring ACM into Mobile 3 is not there yet. However, I will give you a little bit of information. 2 things. When I generated this alarm on my system, it did send it out to my mobile device that's connected, currently actually connected through Avigilon Cloud Services. So I got a notification on my phone, lockdown triggered. There is the ability, once again, utilizing the rules engine, to set up a digital output on a camera to be a lockdown source, as it were. So any camera that has a digital output, you can trigger alarms to happen from that output. So you'll see I just put 2 of my cameras into alarm because I triggered the digital output from this camera. And I got that here. This is a test I'm working on with the guys at Ally. But that's how we're doing it today. Obviously, roadmap items. I don't want to speak about what we're trying to do too much, but definitely we're going to see some major improvements to unification over the course of this year and obviously into the future. It's going to be expanded further and further. So, good question, but as of right now, we don't have that in there. Any other questions in chat? Close a relay from radio or SMS message. I can trigger a script. Yes. Yeah, as long as so question from Jeff. So if I close the relay from radio or SMS message, then I can trigger a script like you're locked down. Yes. As long as the radio has some sort of wired connection at this point. We're not taking in external sources other than from ACM into ACC. However, I do believe, like with the Edisix body cameras that have the trigger button on them, they can generate an alarm that could perform some of these actions. There may still be a little additional configuration, a little bit of a little bit of wiring that would need to be done. However, as long as this is where ACM has a ton of flexibility, because we have those inputs that we can monitor. If the device can be an input that we can see in ACM, now we have that ability to perform those actions in ACC. Virtual muster feature in ACM. Any way to create an alarm in ACC with that? I don't believe so, Jeff, because I don't think that verified doors are one of the doors that you can link to. So we only look at physical doors. There will be That's something. Good question. I'll that's one to bring up in our feature enhancement request. Mr. Weston, these will be available in a box link that'll go out probably in an hour or two once the presentation's over. Cool. Any other questions, guys? We've got 10 minutes. Lots of time to go through anything you guys would like to see. Feel free to come off of mute if you want to talk, or if you just want to throw it in the chat. Has anything been prototyped between ACM and Avtech Scout consoles? Jeff, I have not heard of that. Jeff, do you want to, if you want, do you want to come off of mute and maybe give me a little more background on that? If not, you can certainly contact me directly and we can talk about it.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah.
Going back into that question that Jeff posed about the ACM virtual mustering, right? The virtual muster feature in ACM. Yeah, it is possible because we can go in ACM once you receive that login, once you receive that valid transaction, we could go and trigger some things.
Yeah.
And we could, change or do something to trigger an input and use that input to trigger ACC. So a little bit convoluted, but yes, possible. It would be much nicer if we have that as an option on the ACC side directly, right? But today, still possible. It's just a matter of doing some configuration, right? So let's put it this way: some assembly is required.
Thanks, Francisco. Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, we've done some testing with the ACM Verify. Once we get a local grant or an invalid, that we can do some extra linking through global actions and linkages. So certainly possible, but as Francisco mentioned, there's probably some additional setup and possibly even wiring that might have to make that work. So. One thing I'll tell you guys, I kind of failed to mention this at the beginning of my presentation. I usually do that. If anybody had any questions about what this is a map, right? So this is an ACM map that's coming from ACM that's allowing me to do these actions. This is a built-in feature of ACM. I like using the map to trigger events to happen. I also like to use this so that people can they can see what's available to them. Maps in ACM and ACC are just images. So this is a map that we've created to work and function kind of as a dashboard, giving situational awareness of what's going on in the system, and then also give us some control for our demonstrations. However, for a customer site, this could be whatever they wanted it to be. These could be door unlocks. They could be schedules. They could be global actions to trigger an output to fire, to turn a light on or turn their coffee pot on. Whatever they really want, they can put into these maps. And they can be created outside of ACM to display whatever they want. So this one here, we just happen to have a kind of a photo rendering of I guess a car dealership, and then I placed around it some additional icons, including like area control, right? So normally when I do a demonstration, you'll see this. I have the ability to see who's card read into an area. I have the ability to see who was outside the office, who's inside the office, and as they card read around the building, I'm going to get that in real time. But the idea behind this is that single pane of glass. Operators don't want to have to go back and forth, even if they have multiple screens. I don't want to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 programs open to perform my job. One thing you'll see here is, where's my web pages? So what I've done is I've created views for the different things that I would log into as an operator, right? So I've got my unification view, I've got my focus of attention, maybe my alarms panel's open, I've got my ally sitting here, Vigilant Cloud Services, whatever that customer wants, they can pretty much do all of it from within the ACC client. And truthfully, don't always need unification to do all of that. These are just web pages. However, we're really trying to drive home, we want to make sure that our customers have that single pane of glass. We want their jobs to be easy. We don't want them to have to do tons and tons of work to manage and monitor their system. So this is one way that just makes it a really nice, clean interface for people to be able to use. And obviously, we know how simple ACC is. So this is just another kind of pro tip, as it were, to allow people to do so. So couple minutes left. We'll keep it open if anybody's got any more questions. If not, I'll probably end this thing. And like I said, we'll have the recording available as soon as it's done processing in the cloud, and that link will go out to everybody who was on the call. Cool. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, guys, keep in mind we are doing this as a weekly webinar series. Monday will be Francisco Otero in the Eastern region, so that'll be at noon Eastern. We've got Rob going to be doing one on Wednesday at noon in the Central. Francisco, what do you got for Monday?
So Monday we have collaboration. So it's one of the most used features in our system right now. So I'm going to talk about all the different types of collaborations that we have and the capabilities then that this allow our system to integrate with other systems and bring information in and out of there. So come and take a look at it. Again, it's noon Eastern time next Monday. I hope to see you guys all there. All right, back to you, Jared.
Yep. Rob, you still on? Rob Foster?
I am here, yes.
You have your topic set for Wednesday?
Not finalized yet.
Okay. Me either. I'll figure out something for next Friday. We are taking suggestions, guys. I know most of you guys are, you've been using ACM and ACC. If you have a suggestion for what you'd like us to cover, please feel free to reach out to myself, Rob, Francisco, or Bill. We'd be happy to go through and talk about something that you guys want to see. I am kicking around the idea of maybe doing some wireless lock stuff on Friday, but we'll see. And then once again, we appreciate you guys joining. If you are not signed up for the weekly webinars, if you only had one invite, please let your sales engineer know, and we can add you to the invite. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great weekend, and enjoy Easter. Thank you, guys.